Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Victim's Voice. I am your host, Lorelei. This week, we will be continuing our coverage of the Sandra Birchmore case. Last week, we talked about the 3 police officers that had taken advantage of Sandra, the internal investigation that the chief of police initiated to look into their misconduct, and how the family asked a world-renowned forensic pathologist to look at Sandra's autopsy report. Then, on August 28th of 2024, Matthew Farwell, one of the 3 Stoughton officers, was indicted by a grand jury and arrested for the murder of Sandra Birchmore. Today, we are going to go over the indictment and some of the text messages and Facebook messages between Matthew Farwell and Sandra. We know that this past June, the Birchmore family hired Dr. Michael Baden to do a private autopsy on Sandra. Dr. Baden is a well-known forensic pathologist that has been involved in many high-profile cases. After looking over the case and doing the autopsy, he found that Sandra had a fractured hyoid bone, which led him to believe that Sandra's death wasn't a suicide, but instead a homicide. But after Dr. Baden's findings and Chief McNamara's press conference, everything was quiet for a couple of months. Nothing was being done by Canton or the state police in Massachusetts. Chief McNamara wanted to do something, but it was out of her jurisdiction. That is until a press conference happened on Wednesday, August 28th of 2024. That's when they announced that they had arrested Matthew Farwell on federal charges for murder of a witness or victim, which carries a mandatory sentence of death or life in prison. Though it wasn't the Canton police that investigated Matthew Farwell, and it wasn't even the Massachusetts State Police. It was the FBI that stepped in and made sure that the person who took Sandra's life was held accountable. Once again, Canton PD and MSP are showing how incapable and corrupt they are, just as they have in the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case, where the FBI had to also step in. Why were they so quick to rule Sandra's death a suicide? Let's go over the indictment and see what it says. It states how Matthew Farwell became a police officer in 2012 and also served as an instructor for the Explorers program. It talks about how Sandra joined the Explorers in the spring of 2010 and participated until 2016. It states that before Sandra was 16 years old, Matthew Farwell engaged in sexual intercourse and other sexual acts with Sandra, and that the sexual contact continued until in or around early of 2021, which is up until she died basically. Matthew had told them that he had no sexual contact with Sandra since October 2020, so that was determined to be a lie. It also states that during the time that Matthew was supposed to be doing his duties as a police officer, he was instead engaging in sexual activities with a minor, Sandra. He failed to disclose this to the department and took steps to hide his conduct from the department. This is a statement made to reporters on Wednesday by the U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, Joshua Levy. Quote, "When it became clear that Mr. Farwell could no longer control Sandra Birchmore, he allegedly silenced her permanently. He allegedly attempted to cover his tracks to literally try and get away with murder, and he almost did." End quote. They have also filed a motion for detention to keep Matthew Farwell in jail with no bond until his trial. They have released information proving that he is a potential danger to the community, and the motion was granted. The indictment further states that Farwell began to groom Birchmore when she was a child. This grooming culminated in Farwell raping Birchmore in April of 2013, when she was only 15 years old. At the time of this assault, Farwell was 27 years old. Farwell continued to sexually abuse Birchmore prior to her 18th birthday. After Birchmore turned 18 years old, Farwell continued cultivating a sexual relationship with her that lasted until her death on February 1st of 2021. After Birchmore's death, law enforcement agents obtained Birchmore's cell phones, both Apple iPhones and laptop, and reviewed the data on those devices. During that review, agents discovered messages between Farwell and Birchmore. The messages confirmed that Farwell frequently communicated with Birchmore for years. The messages also indicate that Farwell had sex with Birchmore when she was a minor, starting in or around April of 2013, when Birchmore was 15 and Farwell was 27. Data from Birchmore's Facebook account reveals aspects of the beginning of Farwell and Birchmore's online communications. Specifically, a Facebook data indicates that Farwell sent Birchmore a Facebook friend request on October 28th of 2012. At that time, Birchmore was 15 years old and a participant in the Police Explorers. Farwell was her 26-year-old instructor. On February 21st of 2019, Birchmore and Farwell had a text message conversation about Farwell taking Birchmore's virginity. Birchmore told Farwell that she was happy that he, quote-unquote, took it. Later in the same conversation, Farwell acknowledged that it was a, quote-unquote, big thing to get to be the first. In the same text conversation, Farwell also reminisced about the first time he digitally penetrated Birchmore's vagina. Discussing the day that occurred, Farwell asked Birchmore what she would have done if he had told her he wanted her that day. Birchmore responded that she would have told him that he could have sex with her after school. She also recalled the specific class and seat that she was in when she realized that she was going to lose her virginity to Farwell. Based on the investigation, they believe that this occurred during the 2012-2013 school year when Birchmore was 15 years old. Additionally, on March 19th of 2019, Farwell asked Birchmore, "What would you have done if we never used a condom and I never pulled out?" Birchmore reassured Farwell that she would have still finished school. Birchmore then told Farwell, "I loved prom night. It was worth not going to prom." On February 11th of 2020, Birchmore and Farwell discussed the exact day that Farwell took 15-year-old Birchmore's virginity. And here's a text message exchange between the two. Birchmore says, "I had butterflies so bad the day you took my virginity." Farwell says, "Me too. It was such a big day." Birchmore, "Still know the date to this day." Farwell, "Really?" Birchmore, "Yes." Farwell, smiley face. Birchmore, "That's not a date I'll ever forget." Birchmore again, "It was April 10th of 2013. Best day of my life." Farwell, "Me too." On June 19th of 2020, Birchmore and Farwell had the following conversation in which Farwell reminisced about his past criminal sexual abuse of Birchmore. And this is another text message exchange. Birchmore, "I'm glad you agreed to take my virginity, though." Farwell, "Me too." Also Farwell, "LOL. If I had pushed, I absolutely could have fucked you without condoms from day one." Birchmore, "Probably if you really pushed it." Also Birchmore, "I was kind of scared to say no in the beginning, not knowing how you'd take it. So yeah, you would have got no condoms. LOL." Text messages between Birchmore and others confirm that Farwell sexually abused Birchmore as a child and continued a sexual relationship with her until her death. For example, on October 5th of 2020, Birchmore texted one of her friends that Farwell had been having sex with her for the last almost 10 years, and that Farwell had taken her virginity before she was 16. On May 20th of 2020, Birchmore told another friend that she had lost her virginity 5 days before the Boston Marathon bombing, which took place on April 15th of 2013. Also on October 5th of 2020, Birchmore prepared a draft text message to Farwell's wife. Birchmore sent this draft text to her friend mentioned previously. The text states in part, "I am just messaging to inform you that your husband Matthew has been cheating on you since before you guys were even married." Farwell and his wife got married in May of 2013, shortly before Birchmore turned 16 years old. There is no known record indicating the draft message was ever sent to Farwell's wife. Other text messages between Farwell and Birchmore demonstrate his sexual interest in minors. On June 15th of 2019, Farwell and Birchmore exchanged text messages in which they discussed role-playing during their next sexual encounter. Farwell asked Birchmore how old she was going to pretend to be during that encounter. When Birchmore responded, 14, Farwell replied with a smiley face emoji. In another conversation between Farwell and Birchmore on February 21st of 2020, Farwell describes pinning Birchmore down during sex and asks her, "Will you say, Matt, stop. I'm 13. I'm not ready for this. Oh my fucking God, please stop." This guy is gross and disgusting. The motion also states that texts were found where Matt wanted Sandra to pretend that he was her older brother, sneaking into her room to have sex with her at night. Agents have also interviewed one of Birchmore's relatives, who described being aware that Birchmore would meet with Farwell when Birchmore was a minor. Specifically, this family member indicated that around the time Birchmore was a freshman in high school, she would tell him or her that she was meeting with Farwell so he could help her with homework. The agent states that he reviewed a text message exchange between Farwell and Birchmore from June 17th of 2019, where the two discuss how Farwell had helped her test prep at the library. Farwell told Birchmore that she should have told him that she was interested in having sex with him that day. Birchmore told him that she was scared to speak up. Farwell then asked her, "Did you think I wouldn't want to fuck you?" Birchmore responded, "Yes, and like because of my age, I didn't want you to be like, no." Farwell then told her, "I understand that." In a conversation from April 5th of 2020, Farwell told Birchmore that he knew he wanted to take her virginity when he started helping her with schoolwork. February 21st of 2020, Birchmore and Farwell reminisced about when they first became sexually active. And this is another text exchange. Birchmore: "I listened better back then, though." Farwell: "I wish it had been a year sooner after helping you study in the library." Also Farwell: "You still listen and give me whatever I want, baby." Birchmore: "I didn't even make you wait a year after that." Also Birchmore: "And good, but I don't think you're going to get what you want next time, so." Farwell: "Of course I will. I'll just take it." Birchmore: "That's what you think. Good luck with that." Farwell: "What was the first day you said, 'Oh my God, I want this guy to be my first. I want to feel him inside me'?" Birchmore: "Yeah, so 2012, I finally decided that I was going to try and find a way to fuck you and just wasn't sure how." Birchmore: "How did you feel when I asked to make your dream come true?" Farwell: "Amazing." Birchmore: "Good." Farwell: "I absolutely would have fucked you in 12. Birchmore: "In 12? Farwell: "2012. Agents have also interviewed one of Birchmore's childhood friends who confirmed that Birchmore would meet Farwell to help with homework. Moreover, this friend indicated that Birchmore confided in him or her that she was meeting with Farwell in early high school to have sex with him in his police car or his truck. Text messages between Farwell and Birchmore indicate that, on multiple occasions, Farwell left work during his shifts to meet and, at times, engage in sexual activity with Birchmore. These encounters occurred at various locations, including Birchmore's previous home in Stoughton, her more recent apartment in Canton, a Costco parking lot in Stoughton, and a Five Guys parking lot in Canton. The dates range from April 10th of 2020 until January 29th of 2021, just a few days before she was killed. I also noticed that besides murder of a witness or victim, Matthew Farwell was being charged with wire fraud, and I couldn't think of any way that this would be related to Sandra's case. But here it explains it. The agent has reviewed messages that reveal that both Farwell and Birchmore knew that some of their encounters occurred while Farwell was on duty. For example, on April 10th of 2020, Farwell wrote, "I'm going to sneak away from work real quick." On November 24th of 2020, Birchmore asked Farwell if he would be on duty when the two were scheduled to meet. Farwell responded, "Yes, I will be on the clock." The text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, which precede several of the above-listed encounters, contain statements indicating that the purpose for at least some of the encounters was to engage in sexual acts. For example, on several occasions, Farwell sent Birchmore text messages directing her to act as if she was being raped during the encounter. The town of Staunton pays Staunton police officers on a bi-weekly basis. In or around 2020 and January of 2021, Farwell received his paychecks via direct deposit to his account at USAA Federal Savings Bank. The paycheck funds were deposited in Farwell's account via automated clearinghouse transfer. Each ACH transfer originated outside of Massachusetts and/or traveled through another state before ending up in Farwell's account. Accordingly, it appears that by engaging in sexual conduct when he should have been performing official duties as a police officer, and by obtaining pay for that time, Farwell may have committed wire fraud in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1343. As described in detail below, there is evidence that Farwell killed Birchmore on February 1st of 2021 to prevent her from disclosing information about his possible commission of the federal crimes listed above. On October 5th of 2020, Person 1 told Birchmore that Farwell's wife was pregnant with the couple's third child. Person 1 indicated that the baby was due in February of 2021. Birchmore responded that she was going to tell Farwell's wife that he had been having sex with her for nearly 10 years. In summary, electronic messages between Farwell and Birchmore for the period beginning on or about October 5th of 2020 through January of 2021 indicate that Birchmore presented Farwell with an ultimatum. Farwell would have to agree to engage in unprotected sex with Birchmore with the goal of conceiving a child. And in return, Birchmore promised that she would not disclose their relationship, even though she had already told others that Farwell had been having sex with her since before she was 16 years old, which she knew was a crime. Birchmore also knew that Farwell was leaving work to have sex with her while he was on duty as a Staunton police officer. According to text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, Birchmore sent Farwell a photo of her ovulation schedule, and the two started discussing timing their sexual encounters around specific times in Birchmore's cycle. Approximately 1 week after Farwell agreed to have unprotected sex in order to conceive a child, Farwell and Birchmore had a disagreement about the terms of their agreement. The following is an excerpt from a text conversation on October 12th of 2020. Farwell: "I said the agreement was once. That was our compromise." Birchmore: "I asked if we could try this month. Didn't realize that meant you fucked me once, LOL. And then I asked if we could try through this year, and you said I'd think about it." The conversation continued on October 13th of 2020. Farwell: "Our compromise was try once." Birchmore: "Yeah, it was to try this month." Also Birchmore: "So you're thinking about the second thing I said as far as the rest of the year?" Farwell: "You said try once this month. If it happens, it's meant to be. Those are the exact words." Text messages indicate that a few weeks later, Birchmore continued to discuss trying to get pregnant. On November 3rd of 2020, she asked Farwell if they could try again that month, or whether they would need to talk in person about that. Farwell responded, "That's an in-person discussion." On November 5th of 2020, Birchmore asked Farwell if he had given any more thought to their prior conversation and told him that she thought of a way they could both be happy. Birchmore: "How would you feel about us having a baby, you being there, and signing the birth certificate? There's never going to be a need for your information anyway, so you'll be safe there. And I won't talk shit about her or your kids. That way, we both get what we want." Also Birchmore: "You asked me the other day what I wanted, and I didn't want to give it to you in the form of an ultimatum, so I am trying to do it with you as a compromise type of thing. Can you tell me what you thought of it?" Also Birchmore: "I'm down for discussing it in person, but the more I thought about it, you signing it really isn't going to have an impact on you because of the way things are going to fall in the future." Farwell: "Okay, that's an in-person discussion." In November 2020, after Birchmore learned that she was not yet pregnant, she asked Farwell about continuing to try to conceive for another month. On multiple occasions, Farwell told Birchmore that they would need to discuss that topic in person. Farwell continued to meet with Birchmore in person, and text messages suggest that they remained sexually active. On December 28th of 2020, Birchmore sent Farwell a text message informing him that she was pregnant. She sent him a photo of a poster that she had made to celebrate the pregnancy. It said, "Congrats, we are going to be parents." Then a heart in 2021 at the bottom. Farwell's immediate response to Birchmore's disclosure about the pregnancy was, "I literally have nothing to say right now. How could you express that text when I said I don't appreciate it?" Farwell and Birchmore then argued about the pregnancy in the following text conversation. Farwell: "How far are you?" Birchmore: "Regardless of how far, we're keeping it." Also Birchmore: "But 3.5 weeks." Also Birchmore: "Which means I conceived this month." Farwell: "Okay, well, we need to talk then." Birchmore: "No shit, that's obvious." Also Birchmore: "And the birth certificate is being signed." Also Birchmore: "Or hers isn't," referring to his baby that his wife was 8 months pregnant with at this time. Also Birchmore: "No, I'm mad you're acting how you are over a choice we both made." Farwell: "I'm mad you act like you gave anyone a choice." Birchmore: "LMAO. Oh, so you didn't have a choice?" Also Birchmore, ? Farwell: "Per usual, you make and do whatever you want." Birchmore: "All I did was say, 'Can I have it?' You said, 'Have what?' And I said, 'You know what I'm asking for.' And you stood up and said, 'Yeah.'" Also Birchmore: "You've been doing that. She's due in February and I am in September, and you don't know how you're going to be there for both of us. And you need to be there during labor for me too, because your kid should matter." Farwell: "You are truly the worst person on the face of the earth." After the foregoing conversation, Birchmore again threatened to expose the truth about Farwell's prior sexual abuse and their ongoing relationship. Farwell responded by indicating that Birchmore had threatened him, causing him to agree to impregnate her. Farwell: "For the past week and a half, the doctor wasn't right, but now she was, and you just throw it at me, 'cause now you've got me. You honestly have absolutely no idea how to treat people. I have fucking bent over backwards for you. Now you want to act like this was some free will decision? You have threatened me from the word go. If I didn't do and give you what you wanted, you would ruin me. I made a deal with you and you changed the terms at every turn. We will deal with this tomorrow." On December 29th of 2020, Farwell and Birchmore met to talk in person. After this meeting, Birchmore sent Farwell a text alluding to a physical encounter. Birchmore. It made me really uncomfortable and stressed out and scared when you were next to me because I thought you were going to hit me after you said what you said and took things out of my hand. That's why I was crying. I know you wouldn't, but it still scared me. At least 3 witnesses have disclosed that in the weeks before her death, Birchmore told them that Farwell was physically violent when Birchmore and Farwell discussed the pregnancy. According to death records, Birchmore was 4 feet 10 inches tall. Military records indicate that Farwell is 6 foot 4 inches tall. Person 2 reported that in the weeks prior to Birchmore's death, she was over the moon about her pregnancy. According to Person 2, Birchmore had decreased her coffee consumption, discussed winter clothes for her future baby, and engaged in FaceTime calls with Person 2 while selecting baby clothes. Person 2 indicated that Birchmore was nervous about telling Farwell about the pregnancy, but that she eventually did. In January of 2021, Birchmore called Person 2 and stated that after telling Farwell about the baby, Farwell told her that he wished she would just die and he wants nothing to do with the baby. According to the information Birchmore shared with Person 2, Farwell put Birchmore in a headlock and grabbed her cell phone from her hand. Person 2 told Birchmore to distance herself from Farwell, given that he was dangerous, a police officer, and obviously did not care about the law. However, Person 2 was also aware that Birchmore appeared to be attached to Farwell because he had taken her virginity when she was 15 years old. Person 3 also indicated that in the days before her death, Birchmore disclosed that Farwell had been violent. Approximately 10 days before Birchmore's death, Birchmore and Person 3 went to Walmart to buy a baby stroller for Birchmore's future child. Birchmore was excited about the baby and asked Person 3 to be the child's godmother. Birchmore told Person 3 that the day prior, Farwell had gotten angry with her for showing him a fetal sonogram. According to Birchmore, Farwell told her, "That's not my child. I don't want anything really to do with you." And then Farwell pushed her to the ground. Person 3 told Birchmore to end the relationship with Farwell. Person 3 indicated that Birchmore seemed scared but not ready to leave Farwell because Farwell had been such a big part of Birchmore's life for several years. In January 2021, the pressure on Farwell increased as a result of Birchmore's pregnancy. Birchmore tried to communicate with Farwell regarding her due date, ultrasounds, genetic testing, gender reveals, and doctor appointments. In his text response, Farwell was unresponsive to or dismissive of those topics, or he appeared to ignore them. On January 4th of 2021, Birchmore told Farwell that she was going to the doctor the next day and asked if he wanted to know how the appointment went. Farwell did not directly respond to that question. On January 5th of 2021, Birchmore asked Farwell to come over so they could discuss her estimated due date. The week of her first ultrasound, her conversation with her doctor, and her first appointment. Farwell did not respond directly to that request. Text messages from January 3rd of 2021 show that Birchmore asked Farwell if their child could have his last name. However, he told her he would not discuss that issue via text message. Birchmore: "So I have a compromise for you." Also Birchmore: "You don't need to sign the birth certificate if the baby can have your last name." Farwell: "Not discussing in text. We can talk in person." In another text message on January 6th of 2021, Birchmore began to ask Farwell what their family would look like. Birchmore: "You don't have to sign the birth certificate if I'm allowed to at least list you and they can have your name, and I won't move to Stoughton, which is the town where Farwell's family resides." Also Birchmore: "I won't bitch about holidays, but I would like you to come a few days before Christmas and Easter so you can see what they get from me, and I don't want you to leave them out. And if you want to try and support them, we could talk about that, but I do want you to see them." Also Birchmore: "I feel like I'm trying to be as fair as I can, and I want you to be there for labor. That I'm standing my ground on." Farwell. Okay, we could discuss this more in person. Birchmore. Okay, I figured. Does it kind of sound okay to you? Farwell. It's a lot to think about. It's so much more than you ever asked before. Birchmore. And still less than what any other girl would ask for. On January 20th, 2021, Person 2 called the Stoughton Police Department, and in that call referenced the sexual relationship between Birchmore and Farwell. After learning about this call, the fact of which suggested at least some aspects of Farwell's illicit conduct may have been exposed to the Stoughton Police Department, Farwell sent Birchmore text messages revealing his extreme anger. He sent her a series of text messages with explicitive telling Birchmore that he thought no one knew about their relationship, that she had no clue how bad this was, and indicating that he does not know if he needs to worry about other disclosures. Farwell. Dude, your fucking friend called my job. Sandra, what the fuck? Birchmore, ? Farwell. Your friend. He then gives Person 2's name. Just called my fucking work to complain about me. What the fuck, Birchmore? I don't know. Farwell. What do you mean you don't know? Birchmore. I literally just woke up. Farwell. Did you steal from her? Birchmore. Nope. Farwell. What is going on? Also Farwell. You also told me that no one knew about us, yet she claimed we are fucking. Birchmore. It's literally nothing. Farwell. It's not nothing. She called my job. That's insane. Also Farwell. Why would she call and drop my fucking name, Sandra? Like, what do I have to do with you not giving her something? Also Farwell. Like, you have no idea how bad what she did is. Also Farwell. I literally can't believe this is even real life. Like, what else do I have to worry about now? Which other friend will do something tomorrow? During the investigation, investigators interviewed Person 5, who is an employee of the Stoughton Police Department. They had received a call from Person 2 on January 20th of 2021. Person 5 indicated that he or she took down Person 2's name and information and gave it to Farwell. Person 5 indicated that Farwell immediately got angry and pissed off and ordered Person 5 not to speak about this to anyone and to never talk about it again. Person 5 described Farwell's reaction as atypical and not consistent with his normal behavior. On January 24th of 2021, approximately 1 week prior to Birchmore's death, she communicated with Person 8 about Farwell. Birchmore. So, the father came by last night. It was like a complete 360 change. Person 8. 180? Birchmore. Yeah, LOL. Person 8. Good or bad? Birchmore. Good, but unexpected. So it kind of threw me off and made me a little uncomfortable, but that's because of how things were going. He asked me if I'd give him a key and said that if I kept it a secret, he'll be around and see them and all that. So it's somewhere. Then he looked in my closet and then the bathroom, but I don't know why. I haven't figured that out. Birchmore. We started to have a heart-to-heart, then work called him, so we had to leave. Also Birchmore. Oh, and he brought me a ginger ale because I ran out. Person 8. What about the birth certificate? Birchmore. I think he's signing it. Not sure. Also Birchmore. He's coming back again this week. Birchmore. But it was like a complete 180 from where we were at. This was the conclusion came to by the FBI agent on the case. Based on his training and experience, he believed that Farwell's shift in demeanor on or about this date was his attempt to appease Birchmore until he could kill her. Additionally, the foregoing text messages, considered in light of the other evidence, suggest that Farwell was making a plan to kill Birchmore. Part of that plan included asking Birchmore to give him a key and keep it secret. Another part of that plan was inspecting various rooms of Birchmore's apartment, including the closet, to determine whether they contained items or presented options for how and when to kill Birchmore. According to text messages Birchmore and Farwell exchanged on January 29th of 2021, Birchmore again gave Farwell the passcode to her building's front door, and Farwell verified that the code was the general one given to the entire building, not just one assigned to her. It seemed he wanted to make sure they couldn't associate him entering the building that night to Sandra. Farwell requesting or accepting a key to Birchmore's apartment was a sudden change from recent conversations. A review that investigators did of text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, one as recent as October 14th of 2020, Farwell had told her that he did not think it was a good idea for him to keep a key to her apartment in Canton. In a conversation with her friend, Person 9, on January 24th of 2021, Birchmore indicated that she was surprised that Farwell was now requesting a key to her apartment. Person 9, did it go good with him? Birchmore, I got hit with a shocker question. Can I call you? Birchmore, well, surprisingly, he asked if he could have a key and basically said he'll be around as long as I keep it a secret and don't tell anybody. Also Birchmore, but he did admit that I do have the upper hand in the situation, which isn't a good thing, but I'm trying to not be that person, if you know what I mean. Person 9, I get it. Are you going to give him a key? Birchmore, I just made a copy of it, yeah. Person 9, that's good. Birchmore, I'm not going to give it to him yet, but he also brought me a ginger ale last night, like I asked him. Person 9, he's coming around. Birchmore, a lot more than I thought he was going to, yes. Also Birchmore, I still have to verify the PIN for him to get into the apartment if he rings me and I don't answer. Also Birchmore, but like last night, he opened my closet door for something, and then he went to my bathroom and looked around, and then he asked why I had a dolly in my living room. It was just really odd. He started looking around. I don't know. Person 9, that's weird. Birchmore, yeah, it was really weird. According to text messages between Farwell and Birchmore 2 days before Birchmore's death, she continued to engage Farwell about planning for the birth of their child. January 30th of 2021, Birchmore asked Farwell if she could tell him the baby name she was considering. Farwell told her he would rather discuss that topic in person. Leading up to February 1st of 2021, Birchmore planned for other important baby-related events, such as who would care for her cats when she went into labor. She ordered baby items and conducted Google searches related to her pregnancy and future child-rearing decisions. She also planned for newborn baby photos, an official pregnancy announcement, which she planned to do on Valentine's Day, as well as a gender reveal. She also made plans for her more immediate future, scheduling an OB/GYN appointment for February 10th of 2021 and asking Farwell to help shovel her car during the impending snowstorms. These were the actions of someone preparing for their future, excited about their life with their baby, and someone looking forward to being the best mom possible, not someone who wanted to take their life. Next, we are going to talk about the day that Sandra died and what happened after she was found. But that will have to wait until next week. For photos from this case, check out the victim's voice on Facebook and come back next week for the conclusion to the case of Sandra Birchmore.